All right. Pat, do we have a quorum? Can't believe that people are. What? Okay. All right. Getting ready. I am convening the meeting and welcome members to the May meeting. Pat, will you now call the roll?
Yes, good morning, everyone. City of Avondale, Councilmember Maxine White. Councilmember Clay Goodman, City of Buckeye. City of Chandler, Councilmember O.D. Harris. Chair, I received a message that he is on his way. City of El Mirage, Councilmember Monica Dorsey.
Present.
Town of Fountain Hills, Vice Mayor Peggy McMahon.
Here.
Town of Gilbert, Mayor Bridget Peterson. City of Glendale, Councilmember Lauren Tomlichoff. City of Goodyear, Councilmember Bill Stipp.
Present.
Maricopa County Supervisor Jack Sellers.
Here.
City of Mesa, Vice Mayor Francisco Heredia. City of Peoria, Councilmember John Edwards. City of Phoenix, Councilmember Laura Pastor.
Present.
Town of Queen Creek, Vice Mayor Jeff Brown. City of Scottsdale, Vice Mayor Kathy Littlefield. City of Surprise, Councilmember Allie Klein.
Here.
City of Tempe, Vice Mayor Jennifer Adams. City of Tolleson, Councilmember Adolfo Gomez. Town of Wickenburg, Mayor Rui Pereira.
Here.
And Town of Youngtown, Mayor Michael LaVault.
Yes, Pat, I'm here.
Thank you all. Chair, we can proceed.
And Councilmember Max.
Okay.
Present, thank you.
If a committee member would like to ask a question or make a comment during the meeting, please type your comment in the box and it will be read aloud and answered. All meeting attendees, please mute your computer, microphone, or phone. Item number 1 is public comment. The public will be provided with an opportunity at this time to address the committees on non-agenda items and all agenda items for the joint RPTA and VMR meeting agendas. Up to 3 minutes will be provided per speaker unless the chair allows more at their discretion. A total of 15 minutes for all speakers will be provided. I believe we have public comment.
Mr. Crowley?
Valley Metro. That's the RPTA, right? That's the bus. So when I see the Valley Metro budget and the picture on the front of it is rail, I go, what's important to this committee and to that budget? And when I look in that budget, you know, you guys are the first line of defense on the air quality, right? And do you know that we have a serious violation today? I believe that they're saying until 9 o'clock. Oh, for the West Valley is where the major concentration is, where all of those roads that were supposed to get transit on them don't. Like the one that is supposed to be implemented this year, Litchfield Road. So when I see Avondale, there are 4 roads that were supposed to be extended and that weren't. And where is that air quality situation, the max right now? Right there. But when we go and look in the budget, what do I see? Well, 40% of what you do is spend it on staff, and you want 60 more staff. Do I see it going for more buses to increase frequency to help the air quality situation? No. Do I see where you're going for any of the infrastructure? No. What I see is that you want 60 more staff, and it's rail. With this week's Politics Unplugged, hoping that all of you got to see it, the Queen Creek representative kind of told it exactly how he's going to make things happen. And when I see that they don't want to fund the rail, are you guys thinking of bifurcating the agencies so that the bus isn't the mother's milk that they're getting and get it off that teat and have those 2 organizations separate so that with the rail, all that we have to do on funding for that is operations. And that's all those different cities already. So when I see with what you do and what you haven't done, I go, where are the buses in this budget? Where are the more buses? Where are the the bus stops? Now you are going to do a park and ride in Avondale. Good thing. And do you know that each one of those stops, you know, for the vehicle costs the same amount as one bus stop? Wouldn't it be nice that when they increase service that you would get that same amount of bus stops in Avondale? Thank you. And I did it to 0.
Thank you, Blue. Item number 2, executive session. Request a motion to enter into executive session according to the ARS sections 38431.03A 1, 3, and 4. May I have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Oh, wait, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries.
Could you motion and the second, please identify themselves? I missed that.
Councilmember
Oh,
Tomato,
right, thank you.
Vice Mayor Adams. We are now in executive session.
For the board members that are currently on this WebEx, you will need to exit out of this WebEx and log into the confidential WebEx that you received. Thank you.
Hello.
That's a lot for us.
We are on item number 3, executive session action. May I have a motion and a second to approve action items discussed in executive session?
So moved.
Well, let me make the motion.
Oh,
first.
sorry. I'm ahead of the game today.
That's why you don't have a microphone.
So- Oh, good Lord. I don't know what was in that lunch, Pat, but anyway, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the interim general counsel to execute an amendment to the employment agreement for the chief executive officer, Jessica Mefford-Miller, that reflect the results of the chief executive officer's annual performance evaluation completed by the joint board subcommittee.
I second the motion.
Sure, we'll say it again.
I second the motion.
Okay. Councilmember Stipp made a motion and Vice Mayor Adams seconded. Is there any discussion? I'd just like to thank Jessica for all her work and her team, because you can't do it by yourself. So I'd like to thank the team also. No discussion. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hear no nays, motion passes. Item number 4, Chief Executive Officer's Report. Jessica Mefford-Miller. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Regarding the last item, I do want to thank the board on behalf of both myself and the Valley Metro team for your endorsement and enthusiasm in the important work that we're doing here. I do have a few updates for you this morning. I want to provide you, as we are every month right now, an update on Proposition 400E. As you know, the legislature finalized and the governor signed the state of Arizona $17.8 billion budget last Friday. The work of Proposition 400 was not tied to the budget as we hoped it might be, but we do continue to work daily with our partners at MAG and at the state legislature to advance enabling legislation that would allow us to implement the momentum plan, the people's plan. Our member cities are working also with us. We're hoping to find a path before the legislature adjourns. As you're aware, they are currently in a 4-week recess that ends June 12th. During that time, though, there will be conversations and meetings held related to high stakes items, including and especially Proposition 400E. When the legislature does reconvene next month, we do hope that we will have enabling legislation that allows us to implement that plan that will be accepted by the voters and the governor. There's been a next slide, please. There's been a lot of media coverage, as there should be, on this very important topic. I'll send an email out later today with links to the latest. Most of the coverage, though, it really does focus on the stakes, and the stakes, of course, are very high. The more time we lose, the more expensive projects become if we are unable to act on our capital plans. If we do not produce enabling legislation that is going to meet with the approval of voters, so have components that exist for every single member city, whether that's rail here in the core of the valley and bus service and paratransit service throughout the valley, plus highways, arterials, we still won't find ourselves with renewal of 400E. Well, the renewal date, the expiration date is December 31st, 2025. It's really coming up very quickly. It is imperative that we advance enabling legislation during this legislative session to puts the funding of our capital projects and programs in greater peril. We've had some discussion about our applications for federal funding, which are always forward-looking. And right now, we've been able to avail ourselves, right now in a recent past, of federal funding for all of our capital programs. As we move closer to that expiration date, we will increasingly be unable to substantiate our ability to support the local match for our federal funding programs. As we advance closer to the date also, we would need to make contingency plans for the reduction of transit service, including bus service and paratransit, or the replacement of that regional transportation sales tax, which would put a heavy, heavy burden on our member cities to try to sustain that. The stakes are high, but nonetheless, I am optimistic that we will work together with the cities, with MAG, that our legislators are aware of what is at stake and what needs to be accomplished. We'll continue to keep you apprised. The situation does change by the day, sometimes within the day. I'll continue to provide updates for you. And as ever, please don't hesitate to reach out to discuss or if you have a question. Next slide, please.
We have a question.
What is the governor doing to help us with Proposition 400?
Well, I can't speak for the governor. What I can tell you is that I know the governor and her administration has been and continues to have meetings with interested stakeholders. I've been pleased to participate in such meetings, and she's also having meetings with her colleagues in the legislature to advance this important matter. So she is engaged, she is aware, she is supportive. She's also been very clear that the legislature must present her with a bill that she'll sign, and that bill must include a significant investment in transit. So we appreciate that support.
Thank you.
Moving on, an update on our capital programs. Our capital extension, which is the next phase of light rail to be envisioned after the opening of Northwest Phase 2 in the South Central Extension. This is also the last phase of light rail construction that's programmed within 400, our existing transportation sales tax. We have successfully entered what the Federal Transit Administration calls project development. Project development is a 24-month window in which we need to complete preliminary design and environmental analysis. We're working with consultant partners. In that, we've got proposals due in June for that next phase of design. We'll be bringing this item to our board in September for that 30% design and environmental review. We conducted public meetings just this past weekend with good turnout focused on capital extension. We presented our public partners with a 15% design and sought feedback. In addition to public meetings, we're also having meetings with key stakeholders within the corridor and soliciting that feedback that's going to inform the next phase of design. The public comment window begins or ends this month. You can find out more at valleymetro.org/CapX. Another exciting news is we are pleased to host the Impact Conference here in November. We actually have the local host committee for Impact here in town right now. Impact is a conference formerly known as Railvolution. This isn't a transit conference. It is about transit and community building and economic development and land use. And it attracts a really broad spectrum of professionals, practitioners, community members, and public officials from across the United States. We've been wanting to host it for a long time, and this is our year. The Impact Conference will be here November 5th through 8th. And one of the things I like about the conference is there are a number of local host city tracks that are really intended to bring together professionals, elected officials, and community members to focus on some of the really challenging topics facing us: sustainability, housing affordability, transportation, and accessibility. You'll hear more about this coming up, and know that we've engaged member city staff in the planning of that conference. So stay tuned for more on Impact coming up this fall. Last week, we had a chance to celebrate what has become a favorite of mine, the Design a Transit Rep contest. This is a contest for high school students across the valley. They submit original artwork that celebrates and really emblemizes Valley Metro and the services we provide. This year, our winner was from Pinnacle High School. Alana had a hand-drawn and watercolor piece of artwork that you see this here with Alana. She's a freshman at Pinnacle High School. This is going to be featured on a bus and also on a train wrap over the course of the year. And her theme was "Let Your Success Ride With Us." Really beautiful artwork. Yeah. And then finally, just looking ahead, June, we'll have a very active month at our June 7th meeting. Our board of directors meets here on June 22nd. We'll be presenting the budget to you and requesting your approval of the FY24 budget at that time. We'll also have a study session, as I mentioned earlier, on security. We look forward to that. That'll be held beginning at the 11:15 timeframe. Then we have June 7th TMC RMC and June 8th Audit Finance Subcommittee. There will not be a board cycle in July. That concludes my report. Any questions?
Yes.
It's all right. Yeah.
The happy dance will happen in June. Thank you. Item number 5, Audit and Finance Subcommittee update. Councilmember Stipp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will try to be brief. The minutes from that meeting are included in our packet. I did want to highlight a couple of items on the internal audit update. We did receive our monthly internal audit update. I did want to point out that we did have a brief discussion regarding the procurement policies that need to be revised. We're awaiting the new chief procurement officer hire. It's one of the key hires that Jessica has been talking about over the past several months. These will have little effect on the organizational operation, but we cannot close out those audits until we actually have the chief procurement officer sign off on them. So, but there's been a change to the operation has been implemented. We had a third quarter budget review, talked about where we stand in this current fiscal year. We also discussed the FY24 operating capital budget that we are going to approve here next month. I wanted to congratulate Ken Kessler, Tyler Olson, and everybody on the financial team. This year's budget really focused on kind of simplicity and taking a very conservative approach to our budgeting as we went forward. For the first time in as long as anyone can remember, we have not dragged the budget process through the swampy waters, and we are ready. Probably could have pulled it off in presenting it today, but we are ready to bring you a very solid budget for the month of June. So please reach out to the staff if you have any questions. We will also be, just for the board's information, conducting our chief auditor's performance evaluation that is done by the Audit and Finance Subcommittee of Sabrina Beckstrom's evaluation in the month of June. We'll be completing that. But so far, Sabrina has been doing a great job. And with that, pending questions, that ends my report.
Are there any questions? Doesn't look like it. Item number 6, the consent agenda is presented for action. Do I have any questions on any items on the consent agenda? If not, I need a motion and a second.
So move.
Second?
So Councilmember Stipp made a motion, Councilmember Tomachov seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? The ayes pass, motion carries. Item number 7, advertising sales services contract renewal.
I've asked Hillary Fuss, our Director of Communications and Strategic Initiatives, to provide a presentation on this item.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Thank you for your time this morning, and happy to give a little context to the item in front of you. So advertising sales services, we have it active on our bus and rail system. The item in front of you is related to our contract with Outfront Media, who is our current advertising administrator. Our current agreement ends June of this year, June of 2023. We do have a 3-year extension option available within the contract that was executed originally in 2015. That 3-year option would obviously take us through June of 2026. That's the action before you today. Within this action, we also want to make some adjustments to the contract itself by instituting and reinstituting a minimum annual guarantee, or a MAG, as I'll be referring to it moving forward, for both our bus and rail programs. To be clear, this action is not related to the advertising policy. If that's something the board would like to look at in the future, we obviously can. The policy really guides the products that are available within the advertising programs, as well as the content that's allowed on the systems. Next slide. So in talking with Valley Metro leadership and our member cities, we really debated about whether or not we wanted to reprocure or use the 3-year option that was before us. We really went through a variety of scenarios. I think based on what you see in front of you, these concerns, we really thought it was the most advantageous for our cities and our agency to move forward with a 3-year extension. I think there was some concerns about the market and potential recessions, and that we could get a a more conservative proposal that is less risk averse and therefore affecting our overall pricing and the revenue generated by the program. We are also experiencing a time of significant change. Obviously, Jessica addressed some of it ahead of in their CEO report, but also we have a lot related to our operations contracts. We have an RFP that's being evaluated now for our East Valley bus service, similarly for our West Valley service. So would stability at this time in this program help us in this time of change? And also, Outfront is performing very well. With them performing as well as they are, we thought it was a viable option to use the extension in front of us. Just a couple things on the actual programs themselves. This board executed advertising on the RPTA operated fleet well, actually the program's been active a year, but this board adopted it in November of 21. So the program is relatively new and getting going. Again, it's been active about a year, and it's generated a little more than $600,000 for the agency. The program is active in our Tempe and Mesa bus yards where our fixed route fleet is housed, that the products allowed on our within our bus advertising program are largely contained between the wheels and also the tails of the vehicles. In this action today, and also within the contract we'd like to execute a minimum annual guarantee of $400,000 or 65% of the net. So the more they sell, the more we ultimately generate within the program. Next slide. Yeah, thank you. The Valley Metro Rail advertising program has been around quite a bit longer. We started the program in 2009. It contains rail exterior wraps and a variety of sizes within that exterior wrap inventory, as well as ceilings inside the vehicles and advertising at light rail stations. So far, the program in this fiscal year has generated a little more than $500,000, with more expected as we continue through Q4. Based on Outfront's feedback, we would like to reestablish a MAG. I say reestablish as during the pandemic, the MAG was paused during a time of a lot of chaos, and those advertising dollars weren't being generated as they are now. So they have recommended a MAG of 1.25 million based on the rail program, or 65% of the net. Again, the more they sell, the more we benefit. Also, based on working with our colleagues in the city of Tempe, historically the city of Tempe has not advertised at their light rail stations. They would like to include that as part of the inventory, and we will make that change. Thank you. And my last slide is just looking ahead. If with this board's approval today, we would execute the change order and the extension with Outfront Media. And if so, we would begin to build and work towards a future RFP, working with our member cities to really understand how we could be helpful with transit advertising in the region. We would begin that work really in 2025 for execution in 2026. With that, Madam Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Mhm.
Just on your approval.
Oh.
Thanks you for the presentation. I know I had requested this during AFS. Understanding that we are just doing contract renewal. One of the things that you talked about in this contract is about products on the RPTA side. So does this contract then stipulate what parts of the bus can be advertised in or on?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Council Member, happy to explain that note. What's in the contract says that they must abide by the current advertising policies. So whatever's within those policies, and again, we have two policies. We have one for Valley Metro Rail and another for Valley Metro RPTA. So it doesn't specify the products in their contract. The contract says you abide by the policy that's approved by the board. So if there are product changes that the board would like to make, that would be bringing back the policy to you all for your discussion and consideration.
So, so if a month from now,
Mhm.
6 months from now, we make a change, there's no effect on this contract.
In the contract, it says if we can revisit the MAG, we may want to do that depending on what changes the board might want to make to the policy. So we could see additional revenue generated if the policy is opened up further, and that is allowed for in the contract. So, but otherwise, there is contract language that would allow us to change the policy and also change any revenue sharing models as well, if that's where the policy ends up going.
Okay, I really appreciate all that.
Sure.
Madam Chair, I will ask for a future agenda item when it's appropriate on the agenda. For the board's reference, this was a very contentious item that was discussed back in 2021, executed in 2022 and 2019 and blah, blah, blah. It has a deep history. Let me just say that. So I will ask that we have a future agenda item to discuss that policy, but I appreciate this update.
Absolutely.
So my question is regarding the policy. If the policy is changed, then this contractor, and I'm about making more money. So I want to change the policy so that it opens up, so that then the contractor can generate more money, and it's better for us.
Mhm.
So if a policy is changed, then it just opens up, they follow the policy, we change the policy,
Mhm.
and then it opens it up, and then they are able then to execute whatever the policy says. That's what
Madam
my-
Chair, that's correct.
Okay. So I know we're not on future agenda items, but I would like to bring the policy back in June and see if we can get a discussion, a motion, and make it happen. All right. Any other questions? Thank you. Item number 8, quarterly reports.
Wait, I'm sorry, Chair, we need a motion.
Motion, I'm sorry. I thought we were done. Okay.
I move approval of the advertising sales service contract renewal.
I'll
Count-
second that.
Councilmember Tomachoff made a motion. Vice Mayor Adams seconded. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes carry. The motion passes. I was going to say nay. Item number 8, quarterly reports. This is for information only. Does anybody want to report? Doesn't look like that. All right. 9, travel expenditures and solicitations. This is for information
Everything is so
only.
big I can see it without my glasses.
Nope.
How big that is.
All right.
Thank you. Whoever did that.
Yeah. Item number 10, report on current events and suggested future agenda items. Anybody have anything? Councilmember Stipp.
Madam Chair, I would ask that we have a future agenda item to review the board policy on advertising.
There you go.
I know you would like to see it in June. I'm gonna look to our CEO and say, is that possible? Or do you guys need more time?
I would prefer having more time and looking ahead at June as we're trying to complete items before the fiscal year closes, like the budget, and we have the security study session. We might want to push that forward to the next meeting, which would be August.
So,
If that meets with the board's approval.
yeah, since I'm making the request, I just want to make sure that the chair's okay with August.
Madam Chair? Perhaps maybe a conversation to
Yes,
scope it
to
in
scope
June
it, yeah.
and then move it forward and not act any
Yeah.
actual deliverables in June? Would that help?
Mhm.
Okay.
That works for me.
So I want to clarify, it would be a discussion item in June, and then there would be
Directive.
potentially an action item at a later board meeting.
Mhm.
In August.
Thank you.
Yes, that works. I believe we probably, and the reason why I'm saying June, is we've had a lot of discussion on this, and we could probably get our new members up to speed as to what the past was and what we wanted. And so that's why I'm just saying we could probably get our new members up to speed on exactly why we're pushing. It's really for a full wrap to be able then to advertise more and generate more money. There are some elements and pieces that we did hear on safety. We could work those items out. But that's really why we're speaking the way we're speaking. So June will be great, and then August we can go. All right, thank you. Next meeting, the next meeting of the joint board is scheduled for Thursday, June 22nd, 2023 at 11:15 a.m. That it?
We need to do RPTA, yes.
Yeah, no, but I'm done, I'm adjourning this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Celebrating a
Yeah,
little.
I'm celebrating a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to convene the meeting and welcome members to the May meeting of RPTA. Item number 1, consent agenda. Does anybody need a presentation on the consent agenda? No? Can I have a motion and a second on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. I know. Vice Mayor Dorsey,
It was
I'm sorry.
Mayor Peterson
I-
and Councilmember Tomachuk?
I heard this
I
way.
seconded it. I don't know.
Oh,
if the
okay,
Oh,
She was very silent.
okay.
I heard her. So she's the first.
other-
Peterson's the second.
Okay.
let's get this side of the table in a minute.
Tomachov will be in the next item.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll wait the next. Sorry. So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There's no discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes, carry it. Motion carries. Item number 2, Valley Metro's RPTA fiscal year 2024 preliminary operating and capital budget. CEO Jessica Mefford Miller to introduce this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'll ask Ken Kessler, our Chief Financial Officer, to provide a presentation with budget details. We also have the executive leadership team in the room. They will be able to answer any specific questions you have about any of the budget items. Thank you, Mr. Kessler.
Thank you, Jessica. Madam Chair, members of the board, just want to start by saying great thanks to your staff. We introduced this budget to the board back in March, high-level overview of the budget. Since then, we've had some meetings, Financial Working Group, RTAG, as well as the Audit and Finance Subcommittee. Appreciate all the input from staff. We do have a few revisions from the last time the full board saw the budget, and going to go through some of the details in this presentation and kind of highlight some of those changes. So first, just at a high level, the operating budget at the service type or function level, this does represent about a $3 million change from the last time this board saw the budget, from some updates to numbers, primarily due to East Valley bus startup costs for the new contract that will commence in the middle of next fiscal year, as well as some updates to some fuel cost estimates. And then on the sources side of the RPTA operating budget, primarily made up of public transportation funds and member city contributions that fund a vast majority of the operating budget. And now just want to give a sort of a high-level overview of how the budget is broken down in terms of the details. We have the base budget. Basically, it's the FY23 budget starting as the baseline, adding in obligations. Those are sort of the inflationary items and continuing commitments of items the board has already approved going forward. And then lastly, we add in the Valley Metro recommended initiatives or new initiatives in arriving at the total proposed budget for FY24. So here's what that looks like in terms of the numbers. So you see the base budget there, the obligations, the continuing commitments and inflation and ridership and market type impact items. And you see here in the little, I guess, I'll call it the donut chart here, the vast majority of the changes to the budget from FY23 to FY24 are made up of those ongoing obligations, and a small portion are some of those new things recommended by the Valley Metro team. And for discussion and presentation purposes, we've established budget goals for FY24, and we're going to present the initiatives in terms of the obligations as well as the new items broken down by each of these budget goals. So we'll start first with the Valley Metro recommended or new initiatives, and then we'll move through the obligations. So here, under the first goal, build and invest in the team fulfilling regional transit service. A couple of initiatives here. The impact conference that Jessica talked about in her CEO report. Do want to mention here that the cost of this is covered by Valley Metro, but there are revenue sources, sponsorships and fundraising that is done to cover the full cost of that. So that will not come out of PTF or member city contributions. And then the second item here, Valley Metro staff merit and labor market adjustment. We've proposed a 5% COLA and 3% merit for FY '24 to enhance our recruitment and retention abilities in order to maintain the staffing levels for Valley Metro. And then moving on to the next goal under ensure the safety and security of our riders, a couple of IT items here. This is really about cybersecurity in sort of working to identify some of those vulnerabilities. There was an audit that's just wrapping up or just wrapped up with some recommendations, and this is really sort of to provide funding to respond to that and sort of rectify some of those items. And then operational technology risk mitigation. Again, there's funding here that really is work towards additional capacity and expertise to address our vulnerabilities and make sure our operational technology systems are safe. Under the next goal, serve the customer by improving and maintaining the system. A couple items here, a comprehensive operational analysis for the bus system. I do want to note that we'll be conducting this in close coordination with the city of Phoenix as well as MAG to really look at the bus system and identify, do we have the right modes of service in the right places, the right levels of service. So this is the first comprehensive look at the overall bus operations across the region in many, many years. And this is an endeavor that we think will really help improve our efficiencies. And the second item here, road vehicle fleet manager. This is really about having a dedicated manager position to oversee our, I'll call our rubber tire fleet. This is the buses, the paratransit vehicles, the van pool vans, as well as our non-revenue fleet. And this is a fleet that's comprises about $150 million in total value. And we think it's worth the investment of this manager position to really have a close coordination and oversight of that fleet in terms of maintenance and replacement schedules and things like that. So under the goal, sustain and grow the system through fiscal stewardship, a few items here. The first item is really about software to help assist the general counsel, internal audit, and our safety, security, and quality assurance functions to better monitor, manage, and address risks for the agency. And then we have a fair collection system accounting item here that as we move to implement the new fair collection system, the regional fair administration is going to transition from the city of Phoenix to Valley Metro. And this is about providing the resources to be able to do that here within Valley Metro. And then the last item here, the comprehensive fair study. As you recall, at the February board study session, the board had directed Valley Metro team to do a comprehensive fair study. So this is just putting that into the budget for next year as we go forward. We're getting ready here very soon to issue a task order to get that work started. Now moving on to the ongoing obligations items within the budget under the first goal here, strategic planning. This is an effort that the board approved the consultant for a couple months back. That work has commenced, and this is the RPTA share for FY '24 going forward. And then the second item here is really the ongoing full year impact of the contract rate increases for our bus service operators to help them be able to recruit and retain staff to service our operations. The goal is to serve the customer by improving and maintaining the system. A number of ongoing obligations included in here. Of note, the regional fare box maintenance that does include bringing maintenance of Phoenix fare boxes within the Valley Metro budget to more regionalize the fare collection and fare administration efforts regionally within Valley Metro, as well as in here we have transit service and other support services provided by the city of Phoenix. There's new contracts for ADA paratransit and ride choice, as well as the new bus service contract for the East Valley based on the independent cost estimate for that contract commencing in the middle of next fiscal year. Next, under the goal, sustain and grow the system through fiscal stewardship. A couple items here. This is generally about annualization of some rate increases on some IT contracts. and just some increased usage like our ERP system as we add users and licenses, some of those cost increases. And then some additional costs for our accessibility items that relate to the website. So we have the new call center as well coming, that's on board for the new fare system, and annualizing some of those costs as well. And here's just a summary of those ongoing obligations, showing the total impact to the FY24 budget for those items that are ongoing. And then moving from the operating budget into the capital budget. Just want to note here that when this capital budget was shown to the full board back in March, just some slight adjustments here, totaling about a $4.4 million increase. And again, regional fleet and member agency disbursements for capital projects they're undertaking with public transportation funds as local match, so those being the biggest categories, as well as debt service in the capital program. And then the sources of funds for capital, very largely public transportation funds and the reserves and carry forward monies of PTF funds included as well. And then, of course, federal funds are a big part of our capital program. And lastly, we want to touch on the pass-through funds. These are mostly funds passed through from RPTA, so they're shown expended in the RPTA budget as being passed through to VMR, as well as Arizona lottery funds that are distributed to our members. And then the sources of those pass-through funds, largely again, payments from VMR for personnel and the capital funding allocation that goes to VMR for the major capital projects. There's a little bit of regional area road funds that come to Valley Metro that are included as well. And of course, the Arizona lottery funds coming from the lottery being dispersed to the members each year. So this is just a recap of the schedule and kind of where we're at here today with the blue arrow, going through the budget process here in the spring. A lot of good discussion. Looking forward to the June cycle for the adoption of the FY24 budget. And that's my presentation. Be happy to address any questions.
Go ahead, Steph.
No, I want to reiterate to you and Tyler and the entire staff what a tremendous difference this year's budget was compared to last. We had less than 10 comments recorded in our comment tracking sheet. And I'm going to look at Jim. He's what do we have, 80 last year? Maybe 100.
100.
So when we talk about, simplicity and being conservative, I think that really shows the difference in the number of comments that came from the member cities and how we moved forward. So, as much as I want to give Ken all the credit, he hasn't been here the whole time. So I have to look around to everybody else in the room and say thank you for being tolerant. But we are in a much better financial position this year. I think everyone in the member cities are feeling more confident about going forward with where we've been in what can be termed as very uncertain financial times. So that's a huge credit to everybody. I hope that the board would feel comfortable with a somewhat abbreviated presentation in June.
Very much abbreviated.
Yeah, very much abbreviated. I don't want to say consent agenda, but a very, very much abbreviated budget process. This has been generally a long battle that we had to go through and actually iron out the last of the details. I don't think there's any ironing left. So we should have a pretty expedient process in the month of June. And again, I just want to congratulate everybody on the Valley Metro staff for really coming together and producing a really good budget for us going forward.
Thank you, Councilmember Stitt. But I do want to add thanks to you as chair of the AFS, the Audit and Finance Subcommittee. Appreciate all your input and feedback and direction as we've gone through the process. It's been very helpful. And I do, very sincerely want to thank Jim. I mean, he's sort of the inventor of this process that kind of made it simplified, made it more of a narrative so folks could understand it as opposed to GL level line items that are, very, very tough to understand and create those hundreds of questions, right? So, I think it's a great process. I appreciate Jim's efforts last year to kind of put this together on the fly as the budget process was unfolding. And appreciate Tyler and his team as we kind of work to refine things. It's not easy to do this. It takes a lot of work, and I appreciate my staff's work, and I appreciate your city staff for their input. And, there were more than the 7 or so questions that were recorded. Those were sort of the email questions, but we had a lot of good discussion with the combined financial working group and RTAG meeting, and it went very well, and appreciate all the input.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'd like to thank you and your staff. And Jim, I don't know, I heard you were retiring. I don't know if that's even true.
Jessica's not letting him do it.
But I mean, this has been an incredible breath of fresh air. I'm someone who served for a few terms on the AFS. And if we'd had our way, you would have been here sooner. So I'm glad you're here now. I have a ton of confidence in the leadership team here and the way the budget is being procured and what's being presented to us. And it's a really good feeling. So thank you all for your hard work.
That's the best
Thank you.
praise you can get right there from Councilmember Tomelchoff.
I appreciate that.
I just want to remind everybody, Phoenix born, Phoenix led. All right, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? We'll tell the new ones the jokes. Item number 3, I overlooked an item, and so I'm going to throw it, have Jessica Medford-Miller speak on this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I want to ride on that wave of appreciation for the Valley Metro leadership team and welcome 2 new team members to our organization. You did receive this content in email, but I want to introduce you in person to our new Chief Transportation Officer, Michael Powell. Michael joined us just last week. Michael spent most of his career at New York City Transit, most recently was in Minneapolis Transit. Michael will be leading, or is leading now, our transportation division. So that is the delivery of our bus, paratransit, light rail, streetcar, and demand responsive services. Welcome, Mike. I also want to introduce Melissa Boyles. Melissa is our Chief of Staff. Melissa also joined us last week. She and Mike are moving through a whirlwind of cross-training. Melissa has spent more than 20 years working in transportation in the Valley, and actually early in her career, she worked for RPTA. So we're welcoming her back home, where she will be working alongside me and the executive leadership team to advance a number of initiatives, including our big strategic plans moving forward. Welcome, Michael and Melissa.
Thank you. Welcome to the family. Any comments? No? I'm going to be okay. Thank you. Item number 4, the next meeting is Thursday, June 22nd, 2023 at 11:15 a.m.
Chair, there is a note at the bottom of your script of the RPTA one down in under red where it says, it's basically that
Oh,
election
June.
of board officers. Yes,
Okay.
go ahead.
At the June RPTA board meeting, board officer, AFS, and the joint board subcommittee elections will be held. Pat will be distributing a memo with the details and deadlines for letters of interested submittals. Please submit your name. We need you. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Board.
Those that are allowed to leave.
Thank you.
Yes. My phone's a bit light. That's gonna be a problem.
I have to jump on another call.
Uh-oh.
That's sober living facility conversation.
It's sober living. Is it just sober living? They
Uh,
were shut down by access.
Oh.
So the government pulled the access funding for the sober living
Yeah, I
homes.
saw that. I think it's a bunch of us in the West Valley got together. We're actually speaking and not surprised.
And, well, there's such an
Realized that
issue.
a lot of them were getting federal or access.
They're getting access funding, but they're going to, They're going to our tribes and they're pulling people off and bringing them in.
Like,
And then they're disappearing and some think they're going to human trafficking, sex trafficking. I spoke to Lieutenant Governor Anton from Gila River. Uh-oh.
I knew I was gonna drop it.
Uh-oh. Better you than me.
Are we gonna go in there?
Go by car if you want. What do you want to do?
You wanna do, we can just hop, by the time we get to the car, we can just.
Hop in. I've got data on mine. Hello?
Thank you. Both are flipping and
yeah, so here's the back. It turned on for you? Thank you. Who's Brian? Avondale, second bestseller in the nation. Alrighty. I will. I'm gonna be jumping on the call you're in.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
So are you gonna do it in here too? Are you gonna get in the?
No, I'm gonna get in the car because I got a 240 back. Yes, thank you. Councilmember Harris, thank you for joining the other call the other day. I'll get out some information. We'll schedule our next call.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm taking candy and I need more snacks. Have a good one.
You too, nice to see you back.
You said June? Fast.
Here we go.
Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The consent agenda is presented for action. Are there any questions or items that need to be pulled for separate discussion?
Could I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items?
I move-
1A through 1F.
I move consent agenda 1A through F.
Second.
All in favor, or is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Number 2, Jessica, would you like to introduce this item, please?
Again, I'm going to invite Ken Kessler, Chief Financial Officer, to the podium to provide a brief overview of the preliminary operating capital budget for FY24.
Thank you, Jessica. Madam Chair, members of the board. Same beginning statements with RPTA. I'll just jump right in here to the numbers. From the last time the full board saw this, a couple of changes here. We had future project development as an operating category. We moved that to the capital side just because it's more of supported capital. So that's the major change here. Aside from that, there was a slight decrease in total operating uses here of about $0.5 million aside from that. Here's the sources that make up the operating budget, primarily member city contributions along with fair revenues. And again, the breakdown of how the budget is presented, and I'll run through the numbers here real quick. A little bigger on the new initiatives or Valley Metro recommended initiatives for VMR, largely because we included the Northwest Extension new operations that will commence in the middle of the year under recommended or new initiatives. You can kind of actually look at it as an obligation, I guess, as well. Since we did build it, we kind of have to operate it. So that's the main reason that's so big there. Again, the same as the budget goals for the RPTA side, and running through the recommended initiatives here for VMR, similar to RPTA, the merit and labor market adjustment. VMR share here is shown on this slide. And then under ensure the safety and security of our riders, again, the cybersecurity audit item here, as well as the operation technology risk mitigation. This is just the VMR share of the same items we discussed on RPTA. And then additionally, we have additional light rail security for the commencement of revenue operations for Northwest Phase 2. And then under serving the customer by improving and maintaining the system, a number of items here. Again, here's the Northwest 2 operations, non-revenue maintenance vehicles. So 3 additional vehicles for the fleet there. Rail maintenance planning, and this is really to build a comprehensive long-term rail maintenance plan. And then we have the next item is really about making field staff more efficient, providing some devices and data plans to interface with the LRV and streetcar vehicles out in the field. We have a materials handler. Currently, there's no night shift coverage really for a materials handler. So this position's being added to address that and make the issuance of parts during the PM hours of the maintenance activities more efficient. And then the last item here, road vehicle fleet manager. Again, this is the VMR share, and there's a VMR piece here because this relates to the non-revenue fleet for the VMR operations. And the goal, sustain and grow the system through fiscal stewardship. Again, the same items that we had on the RPTA side. This is just the Valley Metro Rail share of those. And build and invest in the team fulfilling regional transit service. These items here, again, service contract rate increase for Allied that was approved by the board. And again, I'll mention we're moving into the obligations from the new initiatives here. Strategic planning, the VMR share here, and then the raiders. This is just the ongoing full year increase going into fiscal 24. Under serving the customer by improving and maintaining the system, we have a few items here. Again, the contract rate increase for the cleaners approved by the board, carrying over into a full year impact of that cost increase. There are some non-revenue maintenance vehicle trucks here, bucket trucks. This is really to add 2 trucks to our bucket truck fleet to alleviate the workload on the current 1 bucket truck that we have. So it'll extend the life of that vehicle as well as make the field operations more efficient with more bucket trucks available out there. And then the last item is support services provided by the city of Phoenix ongoing into next fiscal year. And then under the sustain and grow the system through fiscal stewardship, a few items here. Again, these are the just the VMR share of those same items that we looked at on the RPTA side. And then just looking at the list of all the obligations and the totals there for VMR. And moving on to the capital budget. Pretty similar to what we saw back in March when the full board saw this item, about a $1.2 million increase, plus the movement of the future project development item there that's at the top of the list from the operating category into capital. And then the sources of funds for our capital program with member city contributions, federal funds, and public transportation funds being the lion's share of the capital program there. And again, the recap of our schedule and what we've gone through and what we have ahead for June board adoption of the budget. So that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions on the VMR items.
Go ahead.
I guess I just had one question, which was the materials handler salary. That's going to be an ongoing revenue item. So my question is that with that new FTE on board, what is that going to look like in terms of Proposition 400 and things like that? Because that's adding to the budget. So can you discuss a little bit about that?
Sure. So yeah, that's a position that's needed really to help make the operations and maintenance function more efficient. And I just note that in terms of Proposition 400, the public transportation funds, that's the transit piece of the Proposition 400 sales tax, that is not used for operations and maintenance. It's PTF is only allowed for the capital program on the rail side.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for the excellent presentation again.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any reports or current events that are future agenda items that anyone wants to share? Seeing none. At the June Valley Metro Rail Board meeting, board officer and AFS elections will be held. Pat will be distributing a memo with the details and deadlines for letters of interest submittals. The next meeting will be on June 22nd, 2023 at 11:15. This meeting is adjourned.